Hello, boxing fans around the world. Thanks for joining me once again here on Talk and Fight for another episode of Boxing News Today. We're going to start off today's news out of one of Christy Martin's fights that was held on the weekend, featuring blue chip heavyweight prospect Fernely Felix Jr., who now moves to 3-0 with his knockout victory over the undefeated Christopher Arnold. Hotshot heavyweight prospect Felix Jr. moved his record to a perfect 3-0 in impressive fashion last Saturday with a fourth-round knockout of power-punching and undefeated Christopher Arnold out of Virginia. They were both fighting on the all-time great fighter turned promoter Christy Martin's event at the National Guard Armory in St. Augustine, Florida. Felix was matched up against Arnold of Fredericksburg, who was a perfect 4-0 up until that point with 4 knockouts before the match. Felix, the 25-year-old former national amateur champion from Danbury, Connecticut, says he knew Arnold's power was a factor coming in. The guy was 4-0 with 4 knockouts, he says, so I went in very aware that he had the power and could bring bang a little bit. I had to adjust to him. He was very awkward. His shots, the shots I was practicing with my father were not landing in the fight, so I was getting frustrated, but I adjusted quickly, and by the end of the third, I knew I had him. Once I connected, he couldn't take it. Good for him. Let's move on to another story here. Out of the U.S., St. Valentine's Day Massacre in Dedham, United States is set for February 12th. Here's a bit of facts coming at you. This will take place at Mosley's on the Charles in Dedham, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. And it's an event called, as I said, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. It's an annual event. First up, Francis Hogan's going toe-to-toe against Vincent Floyd. Frank the Tank Hogan is 9-0, 9 knockouts. He fights out of Weymouth, Massachusetts. He's going up against Vincent Floyd, as I said, 4-11-2 with 2 knockouts. He's fighting out of Philadelphia. The co-feature in the lightweight division, Jonathan DePina, who's 6-1, fighting out of Dorchester, Massachusetts, goes toe-to-toe against Jonathan El Guapo Hernan Godoy. He's 5-12, fighting out of Miami, Florida, by way of Argentina. In the welterweight division, Joe Farina, 7-1, out of South Boston, is going toe-to-toe against Rynell Griffin, who's 8-49-2, fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada. In the female super lightweight division, we have Miranda El Alacarana Reyes, 5-0-1, with 3 knockouts, fighting out of Houston, Texas, going toe-to-toe against Jakai Pavilis, who's 1-4-1, fighting out of New York, New York. In the special welterweight attraction, we have James the Slim Reaper Perella, 8-0 with 6 knockouts, fighting out of Mansfield, Massachusetts. He's going toe-to-toe against Zach Kuhn, 10-1 with 5 knockouts, out of Welch, West Virginia. We have featherweights, super lightweights, and a catchweight fight as well, featuring Tommy the Kid O'Toole, one of Mike Orr Atfor's favorite, 2-0, fighting out of Galway, Ireland. He's going up against Larry the Hitman Pryor, 15-24 with 9 knockouts, fighting out of Frederick, Maryland. We also have super lightweights, featherweights. So that's a full card. You can get all the details over on boxing247.com. Let's move along to another story here. We see that Amin Khalid will attempt to make his pro debut for the 4th time, aiming to rack up 4 bouts by the end of 2022. He will attempt to he will attempt to go again at the H Suite in Edgbaston, Birmingham, on Sunday afternoon, February 13th, as part of the stage show by BCB Promotions. It's the latest date he's been handed since boxing resumed after the pandemic, starting in September at Walsall FC, the Banks Stadium. Khalid and his scheduled opponent, Danny Allen, were both on site when Allen pulled out, meaning that their meeting had to be scrubbed from the lineup. He was then meant to take on Stu Greener in December, but a troublesome foot injury flared up again days before the fight and ruled him out of another opportunity to turn over. His weight had actually been since the start of 2020, when an appearance in April went awry as the first lockdown due to the coronavirus took hold. Khalid hasn't engaged in competitive action since 2019, his last amateur bout for hometown outfit Worcester Boxing Club, where he racked up 25 wins from 25 bouts with 8 technical knockouts. The 24-year-old lightweight now operates out of Amin Khan's Truth Boxing Club. That's MTK, Gloucestershire. But all the time in the gym is no substitute for being in the ring. He said, I've been through a lot trying to make my debut, but I've stuck to training and kept ticking over. What's meant to be will be, and everything happens for a reason. The first round was most frustrating. I was warming up and skipping at the venue, and all of a sudden, the fight was off. I had 80 of my people there. I had a holiday booked. I went to Santorini in Greece 2 days later. I didn't think about boxing, and I had some more time to myself when I got back. Well, congratulations to him. It's good to see him back in action. Elsewhere, something I've mentioned before on Talkin Fight, the 4-man lightweight tournament. The semifinals are slated for February 24th. We've got Isaiah Hernandez going toe-to-toe against Irving Castillo. This is taking place in Sonora, Mexico. Mexican rivals, Isaiah Gaga Hernandez, who's 11-2-2 with 7 knockouts, and Irving Poderoso Castillo, who's 11-2 with 7 knockouts, are pumped up about fighting each other in the semifinals of the World Cup Boxing Series, that's WCBS, inaugural 4-man lightweight tournament presented by Roy Jones Jr. Boxing Promotions. The first RJJ Boxing on UFC Fight Pass of 2022 will be streamed live and exclusively, as I said, on UFC Fight Pass. The Hernandez-Castillo semifinals winner will advance to the championship final this spring against the other semifinalist victor, being pre-tournament favorite Luis Coriano Torres, who's 14-0, 9 knockouts, and Rodolfo Flores, who's 14-5 with 6 knockouts in an 8-rounder. Fighting in this tournament is good for me and my boxing career, Hernandez said. I'm very happy. I know he, Castillo, is in very good shape for this fight. He's a very good boxer, extremely tall for a lightweight. It's a very tough fight for me. I'm a very strong brawler. I think it's going to be a very tough fight. He'll try to use his height and reach to keep his distance, but it's my job to get inside and make him uncomfortable. We've been working so hard for this opportunity. I'll do whatever it takes to win this fight. Elsewhere, heavyweight Sims and Johnson headline next Detroit Brawl on March 5th. It screams the headline. Moses Johnson goes toe-to-toe against Robert Sims at the Lincoln Ballroom of the Ford Community and Performing Arts Center in Dearborn, Michigan. That's on the 5th of March. Promoted by Salida Promotions. They'll present another edition of the Detroit Brawl series, this time featuring Saginaw, Michigan heavyweight spoiler Robert Sims, who's 11-3 with 3 knockouts, taking on undefeated New Yorker Moses Thunderhands Johnson, who's 8-0 with 7 knockouts in the 10-round main event. Tickets are already on sale. A proven spoiler in the 6 years as a professional, Sims has faced a number of quality opponents, often as the B side of the bout sheet, taking upset victories over then 15-1 Joe Cusimano, then 8-0-2 Colby Madison, and in his last ring appearance, a unanimous decision over the then 8-1 Aaron Quintana last March. Still improving, Sims has only lost 1 fight of his last 7. Born and raised in Huntington, New York, 29-year-old Johnson has gone undefeated thus far in his 4 years career, stopping all but 1 opponent. As an amateur, Johnson was a 2015 Golden Gloves champion in the super heavyweight open class. Johnson has worked as a sparring partner for top heavyweight Daniel Dubois. Sims represents by far his toughest opponent to date. Kent Fight Night is back on March 12th. Kent Fight Night, local favorites Martin McDonough and Martin Hillman are back in action in Boxing Connected's first show of the year that takes place at Maidstone Leisure Centre on Saturday, March 12th, with local favorites Martin Hillman and Martin McDonough back in action amongst other top talents. Boxing Connected return to the popular Moat Park venue for a 14th time and just 4 months on from their previous show at the same venue last November. Appearing on the talent stack card will be Uppington's Martin Hillman, Sittenburn's Tyrone King, Sheerness Southpaw Martin McDonough, unbeaten welterweight Brooklyn Tiller, featherweight Robert Caskell, Jimmy Peckham, Alex Branson Cole, Oliver Lawrence, and Radoslav Saraliski. Looks to be a great fight night down in England. Ryan Rozicki is re-entering the ring and he'll take on an opponent to be announced at the Hamilton Convention Center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada on March 19th. A couple of hours drive from me here in Toronto. On Saturday, March 19th, Ryan the Bruiser Rozicki, who's 13-1 with 13 knockouts, fighting out of Sydney, Nova Scotia, returns to action in Hamilton, rated the number 8 cruiserweight in the world by the WBC. The fight is presented by Three Lions Promotions and is slated for the Hamilton Convention Center. The full card will be announced shortly. Rozicki is the reigning WBC International Silver and WBA Canadian Cruiserweight champion. A top 10 ranking was bestowed upon Rozicki after he moved up in weight to face former heavyweight contender Oscar Rivas, who's 28-1 with 19 knockouts, fighting out of Montreal for the inaugural WBC Bridgerweight title in 2021. The rugged Nova Scotian came up short, but left fans clamoring for more after turning in 12 of the most resilient and determined rounds of boxing in recent memory. As TLP Managing Director Daniel Otter explained, Rozicki is already a celebrated part of the Hamilton sporting landscape. They love Ryan here, he says. He comes from a town a lot like the Hammer, a rough and tumble steel town with lots of solid working class folks. He fits right in here, and he always gives people bang for their buck, literally. In 4 Hamilton outings, Rozicki has delivered 4 knockouts, including a thrilling back-and-forth shootout with previously undefeated Kateg Pilev, who was 5-1 with 2 knockouts in 2019. On March 19th, the Bruiser is sure to entertain. The moment of truth for Christian Mbilli and Najib Mohammadi on March 26th. Taking place again in Canada, this time in Montreal. The French flag will be flying on March 26th at Casino de Montreal when Christian Solide Mbilli, who's 20-0-0 with 18 knockouts, will defend his WBC Continental of the Americas belt against his fellow countryman Najib Mohammadi, who's 44-8-0 with 27 knockouts. This duel will be part of the 3rd event of the EOTTM 10th Anniversary Series, which will also feature Artem Razor Organisian, who's 12-0-0 with 10 knockouts, facing off against veteran Steven Danyo, who's 24-3 with 7 knockouts, fighting out of Holland. On December 11th, Christian Mbilli made a name for himself by defeating American Ronald Ellis in the most important victory of his career. Following this stellar performance, in which he dominated every round, Solide ascended to the 8th world ranking of the WBC. Mbilli is aware that Mohammadi is a seasoned boxer who has confronted the greatest names of his division and who's on a winning streak, following 3 victories by knockout in his last 3 fights. Mohammadi, who has put in over 300 rounds in his professional career, is a clear and present danger to Mbilli, and this fight is an excellent opportunity for Solide to demonstrate his prowess. Although Najib Mohammadi is a boxing icon in his native France, he wants to prove that he's still part of the elite on the world stage by defeating young hopeful Mbilli. The EOTM team, that's Eye of the Tiger, is very much aware of the importance of this potential victory that would showcase Mbilli's skill and ambition and prove that he has a place on the world stage. I look forward to that fight. Might drive down to Montreal to see it. Elsewhere, Butler versus Casemiro headlines Liverpool Probellum card on April 22nd. Paul Butler is going toe-to-toe against John Riel Casemiro at the M&S Bank Arena in Liverpool, England, April 22nd. Liverpool fan favorite Paul Butler will aim to unseat world champion John Riel Casemiro as global boxing and media company Probellum brings its first show to Liverpool on Friday, April 22nd. Butler will lead a stellar list of big-name fighters such as former WBA super middleweight champion Rocky Fielding, next-generation stars including Liverpool-born brothers Peter and Joe McGrail, and the highly rated duo of Will Cawley and Luke McCormack. In the night's main event at the M&S Bank Arena, Filipino Casemiro, who's 31-4 with 21 knockouts, puts his WBO bantamweight title on the line against UK's Butler's 33-2 with 15 knockouts in a bout which was originally due to be held at Probellum's inaugural December 2021 show in Dubai before Casemiro was unable to make weight. Liverpool is one of the most passionate boxing cities in the world, and we're delighted to be holding our first show at the M&S Bank Arena in April, said Richard Schaefer, president of Probellum. This is an absolutely fantastic card featuring a combination of world-class fighters, extremely talented aspiring stars, and packed with local talent whose fans will no doubt create a truly unique atmosphere. Fantastic stuff. Elsewhere in Probellum news, we see that both Peter and Joe McGrail, who are just mentioned in that previous story, have signed with Probellum. Says the press release, Probellum is delighted to announce the promotional signings of hugely talented brothers Peter and Joe McGrail. The Liverpool-born duo enjoyed great success on the amateur stage with older brother Peter, a 7-time national champion and gold medalist at both the 2017 European Championships and the 2018 Commonwealth Games, while also competing for Team GB at the Tokyo Olympics last summer. Joe, who's 19, was also a standout performer at the amateur level, competing in 64 bouts and becoming a national ABA champion. As a professional, after beating compatriot Ed Harrison on his professional debut last October, 25-year-old Peter, who's now 2-0 with 1 knockout, secured a second-round knockout victory over Angel Gomez from Nicaragua in December at the Conor Bennett versus Chris Algieri undercard. That night proved particularly memorable for the brothers, as Peter was joined on the card by Joe, who's also undefeated, 1-0, who produced a brilliant performance on his professional debut to overcome the challenge of Spaniard Francisco Rodriguez. And for the final story of the day, the WBA has ordered Juan Francisco Estrada to defend against Joshua Franco. The Championships Committee of the World Boxing Association ordered the mandatory fight between super flyweight super champion Juan Francisco Estrada and the champion of the category, Joshua Franco. The organization sent the communication to the teams of both fighters, who will have 30 days to negotiate the fight from February 9th to March 11th of this year. Well, that's it. Thanks very much for joining me today here on Boxing News Today. I hope you'll like, share, and subscribe our channel, and hit that notification bell to let you know when we're coming up next. And I will be coming up next in just under an hour when I have Christian von Sponek from Boxing 247, who provide us all these great stories, by the way, as we talk about women in boxing. And then later on, in a few more hours, I'll be again on with Mike from Knuckle Up at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So I'll see you all then. Have a good day.